What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Getting in Tuesday's recap. See, on an hourly, we really just had a downtrending day, attacking here Thursday sell side. So you see we've attacked that sell side, and now we've returned into this 1 hour fair value gap. So that's what we're inside of right now. Notice how we use these new week opening gaps to consolidate here this morning, and we'll see that as we go to lower time frames. The real move really came after lunch. So that morning session was consolidation, and we had spoken about how we would expect that because prior to really the 9:30 opening, we had already delivered into this sell side target. So we'd hit this hourly swing low, and that leads us to understand that now the morning session, especially because we're within this new week opening gap, is more than likely just going to chop around. Here on the 1 minute, you'll really see right that just aimless price action for that morning session. So after hitting this sell side pull, we only get really one clean setup, and that's this short-term low being cleared. Market structure shift. So this is that textbook YouTube model. So as we're clearing a higher time frame sell side pull, we're also creating now that lower time frame YouTube model, leaving a fair value gap perfectly aligned with a new week opening gap level. So just real clean there. You'll see how as we break back above the new week opening gap, we once again leave a fair value gap. So right, if you miss this entry here, it gives you even another opportunity. And from there, we just go from new week opening gap up into new week opening gap. So just continuing to use that new week opening gap. From there, all within here is really just that chop. So now that consolidation for the morning session, right, back and forth, just bouncing from the new week opening gap back down, back up into the 830, back down. Within here, there is little fractalized setups, right? Like we can point out this YouTube model that forms. As we clear a short-term high, clear buy-side liquidity, we come down, clear out a swing low. So we still have setups forming, you see that? And this delivers us into right short-term sell side. But it's just a matter of not really looking to engage because it's just going to continue to bounce back and forth. So real 50-50. Even as it delivers, not delivering anything substantial. We bounce back and forth, heading into lunch. Notice how, right? So we create this equal high. We create these equal highs here, leave them in place, and then break below the 830 with a volume imbalance. So this becomes really that lunch setup, right? Notice this is the lunch hour beginning. So right after lunch, we return into that premium. And from there, we really start to now trend lower. So we get that release from all this consolidation in the morning. In the afternoon gives us that expansion into the sell side target. Want to point out how we had spoken about now this morning range from this low to this high. That's the range that we were within all morning, just playing around. And we had mentioned how if price broke out of this range, it could then be considered right a balanced price range. Because we understand from this low to this high, all the inefficiencies in here have been rebalanced, right? Because we've gone up, back down, back up, back down, back up, back down, even give a small bounce before finally leaving it. But we've been up and down so many times, that paint roller analogy, right? Think if you're painting the wall up and down, everything in here is filled. So when we finally leave that balanced price range, and like we mentioned earlier, notice what price returns into here. We return into that balanced price range, this order block. And from there, we create another YouTube model for the afternoon. So this becomes that afternoon YouTube model. Short-term high cleared. Break and structure lower. Here as well. We're going to use this one because the candle closes below. And that fair value gap gets used beautifully. Look at that precision. We tap it perfectly to the high and then create another break and structure here. So we're seeking sell side, but while we're doing that, we're also breaking structure. And we understand that because this break here is with displacement and left behind a fair value gap. So we speak about how that's very telling, right? What's a market structure shift versus just a run on liquidity. Seeing displacement through the low when we still have a higher time frame sell side target to be met, just tipped off the idea that this was going to be, right, a continued short setup. We come up, create equal highs here, give a slight retracement, ultimately returning into the volume imbalance. You see how we fall short here, simply engineering more liquidity. So this becomes buy side as we return into now a premium. And from there, this is where, right, we were looking to enter short. Price just kind of broke heavily away. We managed to get in on the volume imbalance paired with this fair value gap. But notice how price is using now the premiums, right? So after clearing buy side, we're now going to target these lows and this low here. This is the 15-minute volume imbalance. Go ahead and remove it, but just remember that level. The real draw was this higher time frame daily low. But just as I mentioned, notice that delivery. Fair value gaps gets used, we break lower, use the fair value gap again, and from there really attack that sell side target. After hitting that sell side, we once again just enter that consolidation. So you really see how, right, when we're hitting these higher time frame sell side pulls, same way we did here, we hit that level, the morning session then consolidates. Heading into lunch and following lunch during the afternoon, we finally get that expansion into now another higher time frame sell side target, and once we hit that, look what happens again, right? We just enter that consolidation. So power hour here, really not too much. I mean, we can point out, right, there's still setups that form. So we could see how to close out power hour, right? Short-term high being cleared. Market structure shift lower here at this swing low. In this instance, you just have to use right order block these last up close candles. No fair value gap, so rather not a clean delivery, which is why we just choose to kind of ignore it. But you'll see how setup's still there. Heading into tomorrow, be interested to see if we can't continue to explore lower into these new week opening gaps here. Remember, on a higher time frame sense, we've kind of speaking about how this kind of looking like a sell model, right? Original consolidation, accumulation, smart money reversal, low risk sell. So potentially if we get underneath this consolidation here, we'll look for that redistribution in this area to potentially at least deliver back into these inefficiencies. But yeah, that's more of a longer time frame target. Going into tomorrow, we'll just want to see how we continue to react within this 1 hour fair value gap. High impact news again. So remember, our stream will take place at just 9:30 Eastern, so we'll be on for equities open. Until then, have a good night, everybody, and we'll talk in the morning.